What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel, and today is a pretty exciting day for me because we finally have the Crystal Beast Structure Deck actually released and in hand. A lot of people had them yesterday, but I picked on up this morning. Structure Deck Legend of the Crystal Beast officially released, and for those of you who know me or have listened to me over the years, Crystal Beasts have always been my favorite archetype, and generally the deck that got me into the game for the most part when I was younger. Really enjoy everything about it. It's a shame that they never really want to give them any level of consistently good cards. One of the biggest things about Crystal Beasts, of course, is that their spell and trap support is really good, but their monsters don't do much of anything, and that can easily be a huge hindrance for a deck. But I know it's a fan favorite. That's part of the reason it won a lot of the, you know, fan voting and stuff in the OCG, and then we got the deck here, and they pretty much left it as is, which is really impressive because the actual reprints in this deck are really good, but the new cards in the deck are pretty good too. So, what we're going to do is we're going to jump into the video. I'm going to show you guys a budget version of Crystal Beast using exclusively cards from these structure decks, and then I will talk about my plans for another video in the future that will be a more expanded upon version of the deck. So that being said, let's get into it. Alright guys, thanks so much for watching, and if you do enjoy the video and the conversation content, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel to stay up to date with everything. Like I said, I will be doing an actual full Crystal Beast deck profile at some point beyond this one, but this is basically just going to be a more budget version. So first, what we'll do is we'll take a look at the new cards and sort of just recap them quick, and then we will do a bit of a cutaway, and I'll show you guys my actual sort of build. This is exclusively using cards from these decks, so if you were to, you know, the best possible thing you could put together, just buying 3 of these decks, and these things do not like to open. Okay, so, we'll just do a quick go-through of the actual content. I'm very curious about the choices for rarities in this, to be honest. So we got Rainbow Dragon Ultra. Ultimate Crystal Rainbow Dragon Overlord is one of the new ones, and this one is really cool. It's, I think we talked about it before, but it's basically a board wipe that can be really effective late game, especially to get back your Crystal Beasts and be able to trigger their effects. Crystal Beast Rainbow Dragon, which was in Ghost from the Past 2. Can't say I expected this to be reprinted so soon, but I guess it's good from an accessibility standpoint. This card is insanely good within the context of Crystal Beasts. Then we've got Rainbow Bridge of the Heart, which is another card that's really strong, and it gives you some additional normal summoning while also being searchable, so it's a good one to keep an eye on. Crystal Bond, definitely happy to see this get a reprint. The only other regular Ultra print this had was in Ancient Millennium, and obviously that set is very pricey, so, you know, getting your hands on that, this has become a lot easier. I thought it was going to be a common in here. I didn't expect them to bump it, but that's fine. Rainbow Overdragon is a super rare. This is a reprint again. This was in Legendary Duelist Season 2 as well, or no, it was Legendary Duelist Season 1, actually, sorry. And it's actually a decent card because it's very easy to make, and that does kind of allow you to go into your boss monster, which we'll talk about in a little bit as we get to that point in the video. And then we've got some tokens. So we've got Jesse Bonder with the Crystal Beasts. I like that. Jesse and Ruby Unleashing the Legend. Really nice tokens there. And then we get into the commons, which I'm going to go through pretty quick. So you got your Amethyst Cat, you've got Tortoise. All of them are in here, I believe. Would have been nice to see Ruby get another foil print, considering the only other one is Super from Legendary Collection, and then the Hobby League. Rainbow Dark Dragon, you get the Crystal Pendulums, which is neat. Haman, very random, but I get why it's in there. Dimension Shifter is a really good reprint. This is a card that just got reprinted twice, so Megatin's in here, which has brought its price down a bunch, but this is a really good hand trap going forward. Contact C, good card against tier limits, and just in general, one of those hand traps that wasn't too pricey, but started to go up. Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, a crazy good hit. We saw this in the Soul Burner structure deck, and the value went up so much, so I expect a very similar thing to happen here over time. Ghost Spell with the original art, again, not super pricey. This is only like $1 now, but it's been reprinted quite a bit, so you definitely get your hands on that. I could see it going up at some point. Awakening of the Crystal Ultimates. This is a really good card. It's a new one that does a lot, and I'll talk about it when we get to the deck portion of the video. Crystal Aegis is also new, and probably only decent because it's searchable. Not the best new card they got, but it's alright. Ancient City Rainbow Ruins. Rainbow Bridge, really good, just not a hard once per turn, can search anything you need in the deck. Crystal Beacon, Crystal Blessing, Crystal Abundance, Crystal Promise, Crystal Tree, Crystal Release, and Rare Value. Rainbow Refraction. Advanced Dark is a good reprint. This didn't have too many prints, and with the Crystal Beast stuff coming out in Brothers of Legend or Battles of Legend, Crystal Revenge, this card is, I think, the best way to play the deck. Melody of Awakening Dragon is a common that's worth a decent amount. Before this reprint, it was like a $3 to $4 common, so glad to see that here. Same with Foolish Burial Goods, another card that's awesome to have more accessible. Cosmic Cyclone is always good. And then you've got Crystal Boon, Crystal Miracle, and Crystal Brilliance, all new cards. Crystal Pair, Crystal Conclave, Ultimate Crystal Magic, Counter Gem, Ferret Flames, another decent common. Metaverse is pretty good for other reasons. A Crystal Beast token, and then what looks like a Master Duel insert. So that's what the actual deck part looks like. So let me get these sorted, and we'll jump into the second part of this here and talk about the actual cards in the deck that you're going to want to play, and take a look at a few of the new cards just to explain why they're good and why we're going to use. Alright, before we go any further with the actual deck that I'm going to showcase here, just a few disclaimers. One, this is literally meant to be a deck that you can build out of the 3 structure decks. One of the biggest things you should know going into this is that this is not the optimal way to play the deck. You really need to be able to lean into the extra deck to some extent beyond the cards they give you, whether that's Xyz or Lynx or what have you, and with that sort of caveat of the video, that's not going to be an option. So, I am going to put up another deck profile video at some point. The other thing I want to note is I do think the most optimal way to play the Crystal Beast deck as a whole is with the Advanced Dark / Advanced Crystal Beast, especially because of how good Advanced Crystal Beast Ruby Carbuncle is, but we will not be getting those for a little bit, so we're working with what we have. Now, let's briefly recap the new cards that I'm not going to include and explain why. The first one is Crystal Brilliance. This card is a normal trap that says you can only control 1 Crystal Brilliance. Each Crystal Beast monster you control gains attack equal to its original defense. If a Crystal Beast card is placed in your spell and trap zone, even during the damage step, you can send this face-up card to the graveyard. Special summon 1 Crystal Beast monster from your hand or grave. Also have any damage you take this turn. While it's a neat card, it doesn't really do anything to give you significant advantage, and the attack boost, while useful, is not going to be super potent in today's game, especially because of how much trouble the deck has playing through disruptions as it is. So while Crystal Brilliance is neat and might be one to keep an eye on, overall I do think it is a lackluster option, and we are going to exclude it from consideration of any actual competitive or attempting to be competitive builds. Another new card we got today is Crystal Miracle, which I do like quite a lot, and this one says when a spell or trap or monster effect is activated, destroy 1 Crystal Beast card you control. If you do, negate that activation, and if you do that, destroy that card. If a Crystal Beast card is placed in your spell and trap zone while this card is in your graveyard, even during the damage step, you can banish this card from your you can banish this card. Place 1 Crystal Beast monster from your hand, deck, or graveyard face up in your spell and trap zone as a continuous spell. This is very easy to get access to, especially because of how searchable it is, so playing it as a one-of to actually give yourself some type of interaction to use on the opponent's turn is definitely worth it. I'm not sure how good it's going to be in the structure deck variants here, but we will likely utilize it one way or another. I do think this card is worth keeping an eye on due to the fact that you can basically use it even if you don't have a Crystal Beast card in your monster zone, meaning it's a lot less restrictive than some of the others. Now, the next new card we got is Crystal Boon, and this is a normal trap that says special summon up to 2 Crystal Beast monster cards from your spell and trap zone. If you do, gain life points equal to their combined original attack. If a Crystal Beast card or cards is placed in your spell and trap zone while this card is in your graveyard, even during the damage step, you can banish this card. Excavate the top card of your deck, and if it is a Crystal Beast monster, either add it to your hand or special summon it. Otherwise, send that card to the graveyard. This is, again, a half-decent card in maybe some kind of a sealed format if you're just opening structure decks and building to play against other structure decks, but this card's ability to excavate the top card of the deck, even when used in conjunction with something like Cobalt Eagle, just isn't consistent enough or good enough to warrant significant consideration, especially because you have better ways to special summon. Another new card we got is Crystal Aegis. This is a normal spell that says target 1 Crystal Beast monster card you control. Destroy it, then special summon 1 Crystal Beast token with the destroyed monster's original type, attribute, level, attack, and defense. If a Crystal Beast card or cards is placed in your spell and trap zone while this card is in your graveyard, even during the damage step, you can banish this card. Special summon 1 Crystal Beast monster card from your spell and trap zone. This one's actually pretty good. It's definitely a decent one-of, specifically because you can use it to pop a Crystal Beast whose effect is negated, something like Crystal Beast Rainbow Dragon, to then get it in the spell and trap zone and be able to use its effect, while still getting a Crystal Beast token on the field that does count towards your requirements for Rainbow Dragon or other things. And it doesn't place any any restrictions on what you can do from the extra deck after using it, so going into certain link plays, while not always common, is at least an option for you to have. And then its graveyard effect definitely does work well to be able to get Ruby Carbuncle in your spell and trap zone out. But of course, this card's wording is very specific in that it says target a Crystal Beast monster card you control, meaning you can destroy a Crystal Beast in your spell and trap zone, which makes it a really solid opener with Pegasus. Now, Awakening of the Crystal Ultimates is a quick play spell, and I know we discussed this one in the past, so I will recap it pretty quickly, but it says reveal an ultimate crystal monster in your hand, then activate one of these effects. If you control an ultimate crystal monster, you can use one or two of these effects in sequence instead, and do not have to reveal a monster. Take one Rainbow Bridge card or Rainbow Refraction from your deck. Either add it to your hand or send it to the graveyard. Special summon one Crystal Beast monster from your hand, deck, graveyard, or spell and trap zone. So this is a really good card. Obviously, Rainbow Dragon is a bit of a brick, which is unfortunate, but the deck has gotten a lot of power cards that do make it such that playing it's not the worst thing in the world, and there are a lot of ways to accelerate its process and at least get some use out of it, including this card. Being able to special summon a Crystal Beast from literally anywhere, or search Rainbow Bridge, which then allows you to search any Crystal Beast spell or trap that you need, is a really good card to have access to, and as a result, Awakening of the Crystal Ultimates is definitely a card you're going to play in multiples. Rainbow Bridge of the Heart is probably the best new card that the deck got, and I actually didn't talk about this in the previous video because I think it hadn't been leaked yet, so let's look at it together quick for the first time. It's a continuous spell that says during your main phase you can normal summon one Crystal Beast monster in addition to your normal summoner set. You can only gain this effect once per turn. You can only use each of the following effects of Rainbow Bridge of the Heart once per turn. During your main phase you can destroy one Crystal Beast card you control or in your hand, and if you do, add one crystal, spell, or trap from your deck to your hand. If a Crystal Beast card is placed in your spell and trap zone, even during the damage step, you can target one card your opponent controls, return both that card and this card to the hand. So this is a Dragonic Diagram for Crystal Beast that also allows you to disrupt your opponent's cards and gives you an extra summon. This is a really powerful card that's going to be a mandatory 3 of because of how often you want to see it and how much it's actually going to be able to do for you in a deck that doesn't have the ability to do much. And lastly, the final new card is Ultimate Crystal Rainbow Dragon Overdrive. This says needs an Ultimate Crystal monster and 7 Crystal Beast monsters to fusion summon. Must be special summoned from your extra deck during a duel in which you special summon an Ultimate Crystal monster by banishing the above monsters from your field and or graveyard. While 7 or more of your Crystal Beast monsters with different names are banished, this card gains 7,000 attack. If this card is not battled this turn, quick effect, you contribute this card. Shuffle as many cards on the field as possible into the deck, and if you do, special summon any number of your banished Crystal Beast monsters. This is insanely good, it's extremely powerful, and probably the best boss monster they have. That quick effect tributing to be able to get as many cards on the field back, it makes it harder for the opponent to play around, especially because it does tribute for cost, and it is not something that can be negated by every single card. And being able to special summon your banished Crystal Beast monsters back means you tribute their effects and are able to then summon this card again on another turn. It is just a really, really good card that you're going to want to make use of because it's really the only win condition that the deck has. So let's take a look at the profile I threw together just with the cards that they gave us today. And again, I do think there are more optimal ways to play the deck, but we're just working with the limited resources that we have. So let's jump into it. Alright, so if you're here or you skip through just to this part of the video with the deck profile, again, just to reiterate, this is not the most optimal way to play this deck. I did my best to put something together using only the cards in here. There's definitely some cards I would recommend right off the bat. It pains me to say, but Mystic Mine is really good in this deck, especially because it's searchable by Rainbow Bridge of Salvation, which is another card that's really good that was released in the Megatins. You'll definitely want those because you can search Mine or Advanced Dark once you get those options. And another quick note, Advanced Dark, you wouldn't want to play it until the new stuff comes out because inherently it's just a card that you have on the field to be able to trigger other Crystal Beast effects. So just keep those things in mind as we go through that this is not meant to be like a competitive deck necessarily, but it's enough you could, put something together with 3 and maybe have some fun playing. I wouldn't set your expectations too high at all with this deck profile because of the limitations of the deck as a whole. So triple copies of Ash Blossom, it's still a really good hand trap. It's definitely not like the only good hand trap in the game, and we'll talk in a minute about like some of the other options. Obviously, Dimension Shifter is really good in here too, because you don't really have a lot of stuff in grave often, and most of your stuff self-banishes. So utilizing Ash or Dimension Shifter, depending on what matchups you're going to be playing against, is really solid for you as well. 2 copies of Rainbow Dragon. These are right out of the box, very, very damaged, which is really unfortunate, but that's fine. And triple copies of Crystal Beast Rainbow Dragon. I think in the different builds, when you actually like are using things not just from these boxes, you really don't need 3 copies of this. 2 is probably fine. Rainbow Dragon himself can be dead, but we have ways to get him, and we want to see him as soon as possible for numerous reasons. You are able to summon this pretty consistently, you know, as long as you can get a couple things to kind of bang your way, which, you know, easier said than done, right? Obviously, if you can do the thing, you can do the thing. But this card is just really solid in terms of being a free extender, but also if it's in your spell and trap zone, you banish it, and then you special summon a Crystal Beast but negate its effects. It actually allows Crystal Beast more than just a normal summon pass, and can give you some additional combo extension. So certainly in a pure structured deck version of the deck, you're going to want to play that for that reason. Same deal here with triple copies of Topaz Tiger and triple copies of Pegasus. You're always going to play multiple Pegasus, for it's just too good not to. Even with the advanced Crystal Beast, you can play Pegasus at 3 and maybe one of the advanced Pegasus, because it gives you another name that at least gets something out, but they're all reliant on the field spell and so on and so forth. Crystal Beast Topaz Tiger, not a 3 of in the fully built version of the deck, but it's fine here. You really just need the names, and you need to actually be able to put something on the board, so that's going to be the best way to go. And for the 1-ofs, we're going to play 1 copy of Amber Mammoth. We're going to play 1 copy of Cobalt Eagle and 1 copy of Amethyst Cat. We do need to have at least 7 different names in the deck. I left Tortoise out because it's the worst one inherently. It doesn't really do much of anything. And then 2 copies of Ruby. Ruby is the most important card in the deck, realistically speaking, but 3 is way too much, and typically you can recycle and reuse this, so you don't really need that. I would actually argue that you play this at just 1 with the new Crystal Beast, because the advanced Crystal Beast can summon itself, but it is reliant on the field spell, so there are some things to consider. So that's the main monster lineup. I believe there's 19 cards there. I may have miscounted, but I know that's right around the lineup that you want to look at. And unfortunately, the deck just doesn't have a ton of room for significant amounts of hand traps, but usually if you can, you know, you're going for a quick win, typically OTK type thing, so Ash works, Dimension Shifter works. Crystal Bond, crazy good. Search a Crystal Beast monster from the deck and then put 1 in your spell and trap zone. Basically, you search Pegasus with this, and then you put the Rainbow Dragon in the spell and trap zone, meaning you get a free special, all off 1 card, and then you summon Pegasus and you put something else out. So you can do a lot of things off of just that 1 card. You definitely want to maximize it regardless of the build you're playing. Triple Rainbow Bridge, again, searches any crystal spell, so it's basically Tomb Table of Contents in this deck, except it can't search itself. It does thin the deck and get you access to whatever you need whenever you need it, so you'd be silly not to maximize that. 1 copy of Crystal Blessing, and 1 copy of a lot of the other older crystals as well. I do think I like this ratio in the regular builds too. Crystal Abundance is still an insanely good card that can board wipe and give you resources back, so you want to utilize that. Beacon grabs from the deck, although you do have other cards that do that now too. Crystal Blessing grabs some from grave and puts them back, which can be good for like Ruby or Rainbow Dragon Crystal Beast, because then it can use its effect, you know, if it's in the grave. And then Promise, I actually don't love this card as a whole anymore. It just feels slow in comparison and doesn't really give you resources, but we're working with a super limited card pool, so what are you going to do? That's for the Crystal lineup there. And then we have 2 copies of Awakening and the Crystal Ultimates. This is really good. It's just that it is a hard once per turn, so you're not going to resolve it a billion times typically. Being able to get access to the Rainbow Dragon in hand early basically ensures you can use this to go off, and it allows you to get access to either whatever Rainbow Crystal card you need or Bridge of Salvation outside of this version of the deck, and you can send it to grave and then get your search for Mystic Mine or whatever you need. Crystal Aegis as a 1-of, that's a new one. It's still a really solid card to open early and be able to pop something and get resources going, so you want to utilize it. Again, limited card pool. And then 1 Crystal Conclave. I actually kind of like this card. If a Crystal Beast monster you control is destroyed by battle or card effect, special summon a Crystal Beast from your deck. Also, you can send this face-up card on the field to the grave to target a card you control and a card your opponent controls and bounce them. So this actually does put some pressure on the opponent, and you can use, you know, the effects, both effects in the same turn, just not in the same chain. So there are ways to utilize this. It's a decent card overall, and it's searchable, so it has that going for it, like I mentioned earlier. And then we've got 2 copies of Foolish Burial Goods. We do have a lot of cards that activate their effects in grave, and even those that don't, we do have cards that we can get back from grave to hand. So being able to utilize this in those scenarios is definitely really helpful. This is even better in the, you know, actual full version of the deck. 2 copies of Melody. This is just basically discard a card, search Rainbow Dragon and Crystal Beast Rainbow Dragon. This is just a consistency card that actually nets you, gets dead cards out of the deck, gets access to Rainbow Dragon faster so that you can use your Awakening of the Crystal Ultimates. It's just a really good card in general because it helps to reduce the dead draw of Rainbow Dragon later. And worst case scenario, if you need to, you can pitch, Rainbow Dragon from hand and search another for that. And then triple copies Rainbow Bridge of the Heart. This is just a really good card that just does a million things for you, like I talked about in the segue there. There's no reason not to maximize this, regardless of what build or variant you're playing, because would you play less than 3 Diagram? No, probably not. And obviously, because we're working with the structure deck here, you're just going to go triple copies of each of these things. Rainbow Overdrive is really easy to summon because you contribute a Rainbow Dragon monster you control to special it. So basically how it works is like you special summon Rainbow Dragon, you tribute it for this, and then you can banish the Rainbow Dragon and the other crystals from grave to summon this. And then you have 2 pretty solid boss monsters on the field to swing. And if your opponent tries to stop this, you can tribute it, assuming it hasn't attacked yet, you can tribute it to shuffle everything. And of course, Rainbow Dragon is actually neat because it banishes Crystal Beast from grave to buff its attack, and of course has that same tribute, shuffle all cards on the field into the deck. So your opponent is not going to want to leave these on the field because you can disrupt their plays. Again, the biggest issue that this deck has is just playing through, negations and being able to do that, which unfortunately is not going to be solved even with some of the, the better cards, unless you, get an opponent that just, is really bad luck or drawing bad cards or whatever. So overall, I'm really excited about Crystals as a whole, and I am going to work on a real full deck profile for this with an extra deck and stuff, but I know people like to crack the structure decks and maybe just looking for something random to throw together. This is probably the best version you're going to get out of what's here. Other people may have other ideas. I just think as a whole, Advanced Crystal Beast is really when the deck's going to be more quote-unquote playable, or at least able to sort of make the most of its combos and opportunities. So let me know what you guys think in the video in the comments down below. You agree or disagree with the choices? Do you have different choices? And again, like I said, this is exclusively using cards from the structure deck, so we're not talking about any other cards that you'd want to play in here because there are certainly a lot. I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.